Hey, welcome back to the Rude Aussie Garage channel. I'm your host, Daz. So, it's been a minute since the last update. I think the last video you guys would have seen of the Scrambler project would have been the black and white music video where I was pulling it out of the garage. I took it to the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride here in San Francisco that day, and the bike ran really well. Since then, I've done a few little bits and pieces to it, but it's still not finished. I've got the seat to do, the carbs are now leaking on it, and the suspension, it needs some work. It's definitely not really where I want it. In the meantime, I've revamped the garage, I've repainted everything, made some new additions, put some fantastic new lighting in, and I've painted the floor and got rid of that awful brown carpet. I've also bought a couple of new project bikes. I bought a little Ninja 650R for my wife. I rescued a Vespa 250 GTS that was in a river for 3 weeks and got it running, and there'll be some video about that as well. But I also have the keys to the new project in the garage, which is parked just over here. Let's have a look at that. It's a 2010 Triumph Tiger 1050, and it's one of the mankiest examples to be found anywhere. So it's got a Madstad screen on it. You either love them or you hate them. It has ASV levers on it. It's got 33,000 miles, which is not too bad for the year. It's running Arrow exhaust, and it's got the top case mount. Underneath the seat there's a Blue Seas fuse box, and they've obviously wired it up to run a USB for phones and things like that with a phone holder. And down the front it's got some little spotlights, although this one is very sun faded, as is most of the bike. The seat will obviously need attention. Doesn't have a lot of rust on it. There's a little rusty bolt there. There's a couple of little marks here where it's set out in the sun, but to be honest, it's actually not too bad. But the worst of it is this front fork is leaking, and it leaks so bad, it leaked all over the brake caliper, and when we were getting it off the trailer, I squeezed the lever really hard. I had to, because it was all sort of locked up, and then it kind of seized on, so I ended up having to unbolt it to get the wheel to turn, so a lot of attention needed there. May have to replace the brake lines yet, I don't know. The mirror stems are rusty, but I think they can be brought back, cleaned up and painted. I think a lot of it is just superficial sun damage, which I can probably get around. I'm in two minds what to do with it. I mean, the first thing I need to do is clean the tank. There's a little bit of light rust in it, not much, but I want to just make sure that it doesn't clog up the filter, and obviously it's still got some of the old gas in it, so that's not good. Before we go firing it up, it needs a battery. And it just needs a huge wash and clean. It's so dusty underneath the seat. There's still cobwebs all over it. I've really just had it in the garage for 2 weeks, just looking at it, trying to decide what to do with it. So I think the first thing we'll do though is just get it running, put a battery in it, clean gas, make sure that it runs, and then I'll make my decision from there whether it becomes just a rebuild, clean up, flip, or I actually pull it apart and do something custom with it, which I am kind of leaning towards. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the update. Looking forward to getting stuck into this beast and seeing what happens with this, and getting the Scrambler project up and running properly at long last, and bringing you some new video on that. So more soon.